talk about some of the do's and don'ts, and then we'll need her for a few things. First thing we're going to talk about is business cards, okay? And Americans are kind of like, oh, you want a business card? Okay. We don't really care, right? Yeah, here it is. Yeah, grab that on the way out, right? We're not really that interested in the formality of business cards. But when you exchange business cards in China, you need to really pay attention to the following things. First, you present and accept. First of all, you don't carry your business cards in your back pocket near your buttocks, okay? You don't want, you keep it in your breast pocket, if you're a woman, in your purse, but you do not sit on your card and you do not sit on other people's cards, okay? It's like sitting on their name. So you'll keep something in your breast pocket. If you're a real gentleman, then you'll have a nice little business card holder. Yes, there we go. It's a great business for all the Yankees who go over there. And so if I'm going to exchange a business card, I will first reach into my pocket. I will get a business card. Find one. And I will present it not like this with two fingers like Americans do as I'm talking to somebody else. Oh, here it is, right? But I will actually use two hands, okay, if I'm being polite, and I will present it like this, and she will accept it how? With two hands, okay, to show a certain amount of respect, okay? Now, she doesn't simply take this and stuff it in her back pocket, right? And she doesn't cast it aside on a table the way we usually do, okay? Instead, she does what? You look at my card and you say what?
Nice to see you.
Mm-hmm.
Like that.
Okay, but when you look at my card, what are the first things you're going to do?
Yeah, say, okay, Dr. Brender.
She'll want to get the pronunciation of my name.
Yeah, Dr. Brender, thank you. Say that.
They'll say, oh no, call me John. And then you'll also know what?
Yeah, you got the title and everything there.
Right. And so you'll pretend to be impressed. Oh, you're the associate regional manager, whatever it is on the office, right?
That's great, and flatter.
Right. And you'll say, oh, you're at the central office in Beijing. Oh, that's great, right? And you'll flatter, and you really make a mental note and a mental picture of all these things, right? How many of us get a business card and then forget the guy's name 5 minutes ago, right? 5 minutes later. I wonder which one was Bob, right? But you really sort of need to take note of that, and then she will, what are you going to do with my business card now that you have it?
Yeah, I will just put it on at, thank you, Wednesday University. Oh, that's great. Just put it in my purse. That's it. Yeah.
So she'll definitely make a lot of more acknowledgement than we normally would. Now, in some countries, and Professor Young and I don't quite see eye to eye, but I know that at least in Korea and Japan, if I'm sitting with, say, the three of you, and I have all of your business cards, I might put them on the table. And if you were the president, for example, then I would put your card here, and the vice president here, and then sort of a senior representative. So I would go in order of titles, okay? Which I thought was kind of weird. But I don't know if that is common in China. That's much more common in Japan.
No, we don't do that. Usually when we take the business cards and we just say flatter just a little bit, and then we just put it in the purse. And you're supposed to remember immediately the person's name and title. And next time when you toast, you immediately know who's who.
So and I'm terrible, although you have probably 1 in 3 chance that the person's last name is Li. Maybe, what, a 1 in 4 chance it is Liu and Wang, right?
Yeah.
So,
Zhang.
but you have to remember which one is Li, which one is Liu, and which one is Wang. Okay, so. What else? Okay, we mentioned this, and don't really place it on the table. It's that person's name. The card is that person, and is that person's name. Okay, manifestation.
Yours is okay.
Yeah. Incidentally, my Chinese name, I was looking for a name that would sound like John Brender, and so I came up with the character Jen, which is to see, right? Bu means no, then means person, and then de means of. So I have see, no, person of. So Jen Burenda sounds like John Brender. But they said if you switch the last 2 characters and you get Jen Bududen, it is seen not by people. which is a term in Chinese for someone who's been banished and lost face completely. Okay, so I'm Jen Puderan, and so when people get my card, they laugh. They go, "Oh, that's a terrible name." But they never forget me. That's for sure. There's only one Jen Puderan, so I thought it was kind of fun. Table manners. You'll notice that we're going to have a lot more drinking etiquettes than table manners. Just in case you do drink, and that's an extremely important part of China. Those of you who are under 21, cover your ears when we get to that. So basically, one of the things, how many of you can use chopsticks? Who cannot use chopsticks? Better learn. We'll talk about how to use chopsticks in a bit. But when you pick something up,
for you to take home to start practicing.
yes, we meant to stop at an Asian market and get a bunch of. When you pick when you sit at a table, you'll have the lazy Susan, right? And then you'll have 10, 15 dishes going around. When you pick something up with your chopsticks, and I found out this is kind of pretty well, you'll pick something up, and don't put it directly into your mouth from that plate, okay? There are plates there, you take it from the plate, you put it onto your plate. And you might take something else.
We'll give everybody some.
Oh, you want to pass
Take
them out?
home
Yeah,
practice.
sure. And then I will show you the 7 deadly sins with chopsticks. Okay. So, do not just take something from a pot and directly to your mouth, okay? That is a faux pas. Got it? Secondly, don't turn the lazy Susan when somebody else is picking up food. Sometimes there's a motor that runs slowly, but other times they have to be turned, right? So if somebody is in the middle of picking something up, don't spin it, okay? Don't push it. So you always want to be cognizant of other people who are eating. And you'll have these lazy Susans. Sometimes they're very, very big, like this one at Xidian University. I love this picture of Professor Liang. She's also an amateur sword swallower. It's not very flattering of me, but first of all, put chopsticks down if addressing the entire group. Okay, if you're making a toast, don't say, "Hey, you guys," like this. Okay, you want to put them down. Don't put them flat on the table. By the way, there's usually some kind of a chopsticks holder. Do it like that, right? Or maybe over a bowl. But don't put them flat on the table. That's just okay. The host might pick something up and put it on your plate. Don't freak out, okay? It's normal.
Actually, it's courtesy. Yeah.
And they might take the best piece of fish or the best piece of meat or whatever it is, and here, try this. And this was Chairman Mao's favorite. So, there's always something that's Chairman Mao's favorite. And don't cut food with the chopsticks. Don't try doing this, okay? That's another faux pas. It's one of the 7 deadly sins that we'll talk about. What else? Don't pour soy sauce on the rice, okay? That's just foul. Only Americans do that, and we don't know why, but don't do that, okay? Oh, well, rice is so bland by itself. Well, you know.
It's going to ruin the rice.
Yeah. It's not so much a faux pas that it's just weird.
Boring.
So what do you do if you normally do that?
Get used to eating the rice. You'll normally have, sometimes you can put the food on the rice bowl, and then you can eat and then have a bite of rice with it. But, yeah, but don't just pour soy sauce over the rice. It's just sort of...
You can put the, if you want to put the meat things, you can dip it in it, but not on the rice.
Yeah, you can, and it can be kind of like wet and soggy with soy sauce, and you can put it on your rice and whatever, but it just drips on. But yeah, don't put that directly. Don't with duck sauce. I don't think I've ever had duck sauce in China. I don't know what it is. Duck sauce. See, you don't know what it is. You get it at Cantonese restaurants. It's a special, I don't know.
Duck sauce for dogs.
Duck. Like duck.
Duck sauce, okay.
How to use chopsticks. Okay, everybody have a chopstick? You're going to learn how to use them. Okay? Take this chopstick like, Ed, where are your chopsticks? I'm not convinced you
I can use them, but I don't do it the way you do it.
Oh, you don't do it the way I do.
It's like I found as long as you get it from the plate to your mouth without spilling, that's okay. And you don't have to worry, people giggle at you, but as long as you're a foreigner, so as long as you make it from one place to the other without dropping things, it's acceptable. But teach them the right way.
All right, well, I'm going to have Professor Young go around and hit you if you're not doing that. So, first of all, we want to hold this like a pencil, like how normal people use pencils. I don't know how those of you do 3 fingers down. It's a normal 2-finger on the pencil, okay? Then take this other guy, and you want to slip it through the hole, okay? Slip it through this hole, and guide it with your 4th finger. See, this 4th finger is just going to rest. Now, if you're first time, it's okay to guide it so that you can make a V, okay? Get yourself in that position. And then you should be able to just, if you're having a hard time making it like a V, then just point it so that you have the V, and then you pick things up like that. You'll feel like you're getting carpal tunnel the first time you use it, but it gets easier. I've been using chopsticks since the mid-'80s, so I don't think twice about it.
Oh, yeah, this is good.
There you go.
But those people going on the trip, you should figure this out because we will be at restaurants where there will be no other utensil.
No, no.
So this will be it.
Just
So,
And you look really ridiculous trying to...
what?
This one is
No.
to the end.
Some places there are, but some places there will not be for.
Got it?
Yeah. So you can have a big V.
Can you pick something up like a...
Yeah. Some are.
The wooden ones, sometimes they throw away, but the better ones, the lacquer ones, they save.
And if you need extra pairs to take home, she has more to take home with you tonight so you can practice. I find the wooden ones easier than the fancy ones because you can't get things to stick right. It's they slide off. So I always try to find the wooden one because things can hold better.
A little stick-em on it, right? These are actually more Japanese. The Japanese chopsticks are pointy. The Chinese tend to be a little thicker all the way through. And the Chinese ones are longer and thicker, and the Japanese ones are actually a little bit easier to use. You can cheat and stab with the Japanese ones.
John, I say maybe more true of southern China, but when you're taking food from the central food, they don't use the side that you eat with. They
Right.
use the other side of the chopstick.
It's more a matter of politeness. So if you are very polite, you'll turn your chopsticks over when you're getting something from the central pot, and then switch over to this way. That is a more polite way.
And sometimes they have 2 sets of
That's
chopsticks.
right.
One for serving, and then one for eating.
Right, yeah, if you're really at a fancy place, they might have a separate set of chopsticks for this. And I've been at a couple of those. They were a little uptight.
You will forget.
Yeah,
Which
you
one is
forget.
yours sometimes.
Okay. The 7 deadly sins of chopsticks. Okay, there will be a quiz after, all right? You're all going to have to know them. You're not allowed to write them down. You just have to memorize. Okay. First one, don't point with chopsticks. Don't say, hey, you, or you too. Don't point. And don't point at the food either. Oh, that one's good. Don't get that one, okay? Pointing, bad. I'm going to do all these bad things, by the way. Second is don't hover over food selections with the chopsticks. If you're like, oh, that looks good. What about this? Don't hover. When you go, you get in and you get out. Okay? Don't hover. Got it? What are the first 2 rules?
Don't point with your chopsticks.
Don't
Don't
point.
hover over.
Don't hover. Here's a mnemonic. The P, right? Point, H, hover. Don't hover. Okay, next. Don't stab your food, okay? I know it's tempting and it seems easier. You just, oh my gosh, how am I going to get this big dumpling? Oh, I know. Okay? No, you don't stab, okay? No stabbing. So what do we have? The first one was hover, right? The second one was point. So PH, and the third one is S, right? So I haven't thought of this, but we need a mnemonic, right? PHS, okay? We'll try to spell something with it if we can. PHS. Don't use chopsticks in each hand. We could call it separate, right? Maybe another S, PHSS, separate. Don't separate hands, okay? If you do this, it's only for what, Professor Leon? When do you?
Yeah, when you serve, and like big things, big chunk of things.
Is it not also a funeral?
The funeral, yeah,
Funeral
the
possession.
sacrifices. Sacrifices things that you stop there and you do this.
So it can signify death and funeral. So the Chinese don't like to talk about death. They don't like the number 4 because the number 4 is and death is so they sound alike. Sometimes they don't have a 4th floor in a hospital. They're very eerie about death.
Yeah, we try to avoid the telephone number, the cell phone number ending with 4. Nobody wants that number at all, especially business area.
Okay, next, don't place the chopstick directly on the table, right? We said, always use the stand, or put it over the bowl. Now, if I remember correctly, in Japan, we would put the chopsticks this way on the bowl, but I believe in China,
Yeah, it's
this
that
way.
Yeah.
In Japan, they don't like to point at other people. It's not really pointing, but this is the Chinese way, but I always catch myself doing the Japanese way, which is side. So we'll call that one T for table, right? So we've got point. What else do we have? H is hover. S, stab, right? Then we have table, right? T. Don't stick or stand the chopsticks in the rice. Also means somebody died. Okay, that's the only time you stick your chopsticks in the rice. So we'll give an R there, right, for the mnemonic. So again, we have H, right? P. What else? P, H, T, S, S, T, and R, rice. Okay. P, H, S, S, T, R. Do we have a word yet? Okay. P, H, S, S, T, R. And don't use with another person. We'll give that a P, right? So if I'm using it and she's using it, again, this is for a funeral. Okay, so don't say, hey, I'll use these and you guys, let's pick this up together. No, that's a faux pas. Okay? So we have what? We have P, H, S, S, T, R, P. With another person? Anybody take a stab? Who can name the 7 deadly sins of chopsticks? One.
Point.
No point. Okay, don't point. Next.
Hover.
Don't hover.
Don't stab.
Don't stab.
Don't separate.
Don't separate.
Don't set on the table.
Don't set them on the table.
Don't stick in your rice.
Don't stick them in the rice.
And don't share with other people.
Don't, right, share, right. Don't pick up with somebody else. Okay.
Separate hands.
Separate. Okay. Good, not bad. Keep that in mind. Yes?
Before we go on to drinking, can we do other, like, noise? Which you will find maybe disconcerting, but there will be a lot of slurping. If you're eating noodles, lots of noise. That's not in play. So the idea is to get the food to you in whichever least offensive way possible, but you can work at it. So there'll be a lot more noises than you will be used to. And that's perfectly okay.
People eat with their mouth open. Mary. Professor Leon will not. But
So there's a lot of different things like that, you know, and if you're, the idea isn't to hold your food way away from you. The idea is to hold your food closer so you don't drop things. So you'll see people going like that to keep it all together, and that's perfectly okay.
let me point out, there's some interesting differences in terms of how you handle your rice in China, Japan, Korea. In Japan, when you have a rice bowl, you must always keep it in your left hand and eat it like this. The rice bowl is raised. That would be considered terrible in Korea, because in Korea, you always keep the rice dish on the table. In China, again, it's miwanchi. Whatever you want, it doesn't matter. Okay? China is very, very forgiving. So you can eat from the rice bowl directly on the table, or you can pick it up in your left hand and eat it that way too. It's all acceptable.
The only thing I think when you hold the rice bowl is that you do not do like this. This is for beggar. You do not just hold this way. You have to hold this way. Yeah, like this. Not this. Not this way. This is for beggar. Alright, so people never do that.
See, I didn't even realize that. And maybe that picture of me before.
Yeah, we don't do that. Nobody does that.
Oh, straightening your hand.
Not
Oh, in your
straightening
palm,
your
right?
hand.
Yeah.
Because like beggar, right?
Yeah, otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, you have
No, it wasn't in my palm.
And rice is, think of rice like bread. I mean, we want a lot of bread. It's like one of the big things when kids come here, you want to make people happy, you need white rice, at least once a day. Otherwise, and I didn't know this when we first were bringing Chinese students here and we're figuring out the food situation. You know, people say, what should I serve them? I said, a bowl of white rice. Everybody's happy. You know, it's all, well, put stuff in it. No. Plain white rice. Not fried rice, not brown rice, not white rice, plain and stickier because you want it, not like our stuff, we want to make it unsticky. They made it sticky because then it sticks together.
Who's afraid to make rice? Who really has a hard time making rice? Anybody? Is it okay? Everybody can make rice? Here's the surefire way. When you make rice, you take your pan, you fill it half with rice and half with water. You can rinse it off if you want, wash the rice, but it should be about half rice, half water. Put just a little bit of oil in it, just a little spot to keep it from sticking. And then put the pan on tilted so it has just a little bit of steam to be able to come out. As far as a flame, if you're on an electric stove, on a 1 to 10 scale, put it at about 3. And it will steam out, and at some point you will have perfect rice.
And also,
No problem.
yeah, also besides putting oil, a little bit of oil, and you can also put a few drops of lemon juice, and also a little bit of tea. That's better. Tea, you put it in there. So you have perfect the white rice that smells good.
Minimize.
Yeah, we also eat sticky rice, but you cannot just eat that every day. It's only for special.
Sticky rice is very high in sugar, and it will really...
It's not easy to digest.
As far as like food and eating etiquette, like big room to talk to a person, while
You are supposed to talk, especially right when you are sitting on a table. You know, Chinese are always sitting on a round table, right? It's strange if you don't talk.
Yeah, in fact, most business is done overeating.
Overeating.
Yeah, I will tell you that. One of our
You
deans.
have a meeting first, doesn't matter what happens there. It only matters what happens at the table later, and when we get to this part here, what you're eating and then what you're drinking.
Yeah, the drinking is...
I'll give you a story of, we're trying to get one school to be a school with another one in China, and the negotiations went on for like 1.5 years. And they couldn't figure out why it was taking so long. And they would, our side would send stuff very legalistically. They never went with them, and they never ate with them. It will never be concluded. And I try to explain it, and explain it, and explain it. Doesn't happen. These guys don't get it. It doesn't matter what you say. If you go eat and drink, then okay. And you got to show up, but you can't. It just, you know, you do the performal until you get to the dinner, and then you get to have the real discussions.
You can make a friend eating, you can make a best friend drinking. So, why not? So the first drinking, the beginning toast is for everyone. That's where usually everybody stands up, and the head person or the host will make a toast. Okay. And you can clink with the person next to you if you
Together,
want.
because everybody's putting it in the middle, right? And together.
You can clink as many glasses as you want. That's the first drink.
And we will do this in and I never say it right because I don't pronounce it, in Chifu, at the university there, we're gonna do this for a couple of meals. We won't use the wine, but we will use Sprite or something. So we'll practice this when we're there for 2 days.
And I have a whole skull and crossbones warning section in this too, so just to alert you of certain things. There are many subsequent toasts, okay, and this is different from any country I've ever been to, because normally you'll make one initial toast, I don't know, to family, to health, to whatever it happens to be, and everybody drinks, and then they leave you the heck alone, right? But in China, they don't leave you alone, and generally you're toasting with all kinds of people, and it's not necessarily to anything or about anything other than to each other, okay? So there's many subsequent toasts. This is a picture of me on what was to become probably the worst night of my life. This is when I was at Hust, and Professor Liang was witness to all of this.
I took a lot of pictures of them.